Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. And welcome back. I'm your host, Amber Garvin, and we are coming at you on location from Cindy's house in case you hear any weird background noise going on. And of course, I'm here with my co-hosts, Cindy Murray and Kristen Hessler.
Hello. Hey.
Didn't want to forget to introduce them. And we're talking this week on our blog and podcast about migraines and managing migraines holistically. And I'm a big fan of managing things holistically because I don't like taking medication or pills. And I never have. They make me feel weird. They make me feel funny. And I've been plagued with migraines my whole life. I was diagnosed when I was very little with migraines, and I have been rejecting for many years taking pills. And finally, I have gotten my migraines regulated, and it took many years. I'm in my 30s now. It took many years of taking medications and trying different holistic things to manage my migraines. And for those of you that don't know, migraines are more extreme than a headache. And you're wondering why I was diagnosed with migraines. The doctor told me that even any slight little headache that I have is a migraine. And I'm not really sure how it works. I went in and I had a test with the doctor where he poked me with 1,000,000 little needles. And he tested my nerves to figure out exactly what kind of headaches I was having. Because I was having headaches so extreme that not even regular medication would help them. So I began doing extreme things trying to get rid of migraines. And I don't know, I remember going off to college and meeting Kristen for the first time and our late roommate Jamie, and they made a comment on why I always crack my knuckles on my head. And it was because I had a headache, and that helped. And that was one of the holistic things that I did. And I still do that today. If I have a slight headache on the side of my head, I'll crack my knuckles against my head, and it actually alleviates the pressure on that part of my head. And so we just wanted to talk about migraines today and different triggers for migraines, and also, you know, the different kinds of levels of migraines. So tell me, ladies, do y'all get migraines or headaches?
I have actually had migraines since I had my first one when I was 16 years old. And it was the weirdest thing. It just came out of nowhere, and it was so debilitating. I was actually driving a car when it happened, and it hit me, and I had to pull over to the side of the road. Luckily, there was somebody in the car with me that could kind of help me do that. And it just caused this blinding, searing pain behind my eyes. And I felt like somebody had just stuck an ice pick through my brain. And at the same time, I was so nauseous that I actually had to open up the door of the car and throw up on the side of the road. So, I mean, it just, out of nowhere, it hit me, and it was the worst thing ever. My friend had to help. She had to drive me back. I was actually taking her home, and even once I got back to her home, I was still very sick, very nauseous, and the nausea kind of went away after a few minutes, probably 30 minutes or whatever, of hanging out at her house, but the pain stayed with me until the next day. And that was the worst thing I could have ever felt at that age. You know, I just, it was horrible. I had them all through my early years until I got pregnant with my son, Steven, and he's 29 now. So something about the hormones changed my body's reaction to migraines. And so instead of having the blinding pain type migraine, which, that's normally my migraines were very sensitive to light, nausea, very sensitive to sound, and excruciating pain. Like I said, it felt like there was an ice pick scrubbing around in my brain. And I would go to bed and just sleep it off because that's all that I could do. And the medications that were out in those days were not very good. And so I did the sleeping thing. That was the best I could manage. But once I got pregnant, that I was still having migraines, and it actually took my doctors a while to figure out that it was a migraine. But I started having flashes of light. And unlike an aura that some people have, or a blinding, one big blinding like a flashlight in your eye kind of thing, mine were sparklers. So, the little Christmas sparklers that you get, or Christmas sparklers, 4th of July sparklers that you get, these were very similar to that. These little flashes of light, mostly in my periphery. And, but if I tried to look at them, they would move away. And I saw a neurologist, I saw the eye doctor, I saw everybody for it. And they finally concluded that they were optical migraines. So instead of, and this is where what kind of started a study of migraines for me a little bit, because I realized then that I had other kinds of migraines as well. There are many different kinds of migraines besides the painful migraines. And at that point, I was having these little optical things. I quit having painful migraines. So I no longer had that blinding pain or the nausea or any of those things that went with it. So it was just the sparkles. And I would also, around that same time, started getting, and I can't remember the word for it, but it's olfactory migraines, because your olfactory nerve
smells,
is very close to your brain also. And so you get smells, and most people typically have a single smell. And sometimes people who have olfactory migraines have them as a warning sign. And same thing with the auras. It's a warning sign that a migraine is coming.
Yes.
But for me, I don't ever develop into that full-blown pain, because the part of my head that is being affected is a different part of my head. And so it involves my olfactory nerves and my optical nerves, but it does not involve, any of the blood vessels or whatever around that would cause pain. So, and that's what, what happens with a migraine is that there's like inflammation around those nerves, and that's what causes the pain. And there's a lot of natural things you can do to reduce the blood vessels, to shut down the blood vessels, and that relieves that pressure on those nerves.
Well, yeah, I did go to a doctor about that once, and he, if you have really strong fingers, you can definitely make that happen. Like I said, with the popping the knuckles against my head, but it even goes, you can go to a doctor or a masseuse and get your migraines. Like if they have really strong fingers, they can break those blood vessels, and it could cause a temporary relief. Now it's not always 100%.
They're not really breaking the blood vessels, but they're massaging them out so that they shrink down a little bit, or so. I don't know exactly how that works, but that the idea is that you want to shrink the blood vessels down, and that's why caffeine works for a lot of people who have migraines, because it shrinks the migraines down.
It's an inflammatory.
Yes, it's an anti-inflammatory.
Caffeine definitely works for me because if I don't drink, my body's so used to having caffeine every day and drinking coffee every day. If I don't drink coffee, I will get a migraine sometimes.
Well, and that's also a caffeine withdrawal.
That is a
Yeah.
withdrawal
That's a
from
withdrawal.
the chemical.
Instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
having
that's
a headache
a-
from not having caffeine.
Exactly. And caffeine can also be a trigger. But I want to go back to what you were talking about auras, because I also have auras that don't necessarily follow with a extreme pain. Like, just occasionally, if I'm really stressed, I will get an aura, and it usually happens when I'm teaching. If I get really stressed, it will be like my eye is folded in half. Does that make sense?
You feel like your eye is folded
Well, no,
in half,
it
or you
looks like there is a fold across my eye. Like, I can't really see
it
very
distorts
well
your
because,
vision?
yeah, my vision is distorted, and it looks like, say, if my eye was a piece of paper and it was folded, like if I was wearing a contact lens and it was folded.
So it's like bending your vision.
Yeah, and and it's not in the corner of my eye, like it goes all the way across my vision, and I can't see because there's just this big fold in front of my vision. And that comes in extreme, I know exactly what triggers that. It comes in extreme times of stress.
So your migraines might be hormonal triggered
Yeah.
migraines then.
Well, my other trigger would be the weather. I can always tell when the weather is going to change, or when there's some kind of weather coming, because a few days before I will get excruciating migraines.
My roommate, when I was single and going to college and all that, she had very bad, debilitating migraines. And I think she was the one. It may be her, or it may have been my mother. I can't remember which one of them it was, because they both had migraines. But they were told that all migraines stem from some form of allergic reaction, which actually kind of makes it an autoimmune disorder, because an allergic reaction technically is an autoimmune disorder. Your immune system reacts to something that
makes sense.
that normally would not make your body react, but for some reason your body has decided to react to that, whatever it is. And so you get extra histamine, and you get all the inflammation. Your body is trying to fight whatever this is. And like I said, hormones play a big part in it. I think I read somewhere one time that women are far more likely to have migraines than men are. And I think even when men have them, I don't think they're quite as debilitating as
No, I've
as
never
with women.
known a guy that had migraines.
Me neither. I've
to
never
have
met a man that
de-
had migraines.
Me
except-
either. And
Well, Jason
Headache.
does have migraines, but they're not like normal migraines. He's only ever had like 5 in his life.
Well, and I do know somebody who has them, but he had the flash of light kind, so it wasn't like a go to bed. In fact, he didn't know what it was that caused it, and he went to the doctor to find out what this blinding flash of light thing was, and that's what it was.
And that's maybe where I kind of stand with migraines, because I very rarely ever get even just a headache. Most
mom
of my
was that way.
headaches consist of not getting my caffeine, so that's my own doing, because I'm withdrawing from my coffee or whatever, and then I get sinus headaches, which is different. That's a totally different type of headache, because that's just pain in your head.
Yeah,
Because
it's
of
like
the
in your
inflammation.
nose area inflammation.
Right.
So
And then every once in a while, I'll get an optical one where I feel like that ice pick pain that you guys talk about, but it's in my eye. And I usually contribute that to staring at the screen. I am on a computer all day long, and then when I get off work, I'm on a computer, I'm on a screen, I'm on a phone. We type blogs, and then I'm working on side projects, graphic arts.
yeah, it's hard
My
to
scrolling habits, and then I read a book on my phone. So I'm always looking at a phone or a computer. So I tend to get like optical pain, and that's what I consider. It's just a little headache, but I don't ever have like a headache that gets me like
sends you to the
stuck in a
hospital
bed
or
in a hospital.
makes you sick.
No, I don't even have like headache where I'm like, I can't function today. I'm just like, oh, my head hurts, big deal.
And see, that was the kind of headaches that I had when I was younger. But now my headaches are just the normal tension type headaches. I've stared at a computer screen too long, or I've got, the stress up the back of my neck or whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing I could ever think of that would be a migraine that I have is the odor migraine.
Olfactory migraine, yeah.
Yes. So I don't have pain with it, but I do get this random time where I smell smoked meat. And I know that's the weirdest thing, but I smell smoke, and it's like a mesquite smell, like
that's
like
that's a familial thing, and it must be genetic because my mother used to always complain that she smelled cigarettes all the time, and I smell cigarettes, I smell cigarettes, I smell cigarettes, and it was like, okay, and nobody else smelled it, and then I smell wood burning. And very often I'll just be sitting and out of the blue, I'll get a whiff of wood burning smell. And that's my olfactory migraines.
Yeah,
I smell wood.
My mom legit would have us looking around the house trying to figure out what was on fire.
Yes, because, and that stems from my parents' house actually burned down when Kristen was a baby, burned to the ground. So that smell is like stuck in my brain.
Right.
And so, it makes sense that is something that would trigger me, I guess.
That is your smartest or your most memorable memories, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Is your nose.
It's that smell. Well, yeah, because your brain
so
is,
if it is stress
right
related.
See, I don't really
like,
have.
Oh, you're stressed out. Let me remind you about the smell that you associate with the most stressful thing in your life.
I don't think it's the. I don't think the headache itself is from stress. Like I said, the headache is hormonal and allergy, but because it is so close to your olfactory nerve,
maybe.
Yeah, that's where the smell comes from, and so that part of the. I don't know. I don't pretend to know, but that's kind of my guess on that is that it, that's such a strong brain reaction for me or whatever. That's what my brain is trying to tell me. Hey, you're having this weird thing going on here, and the only way we know how to tell you, because the brain itself does not have any pain nerves, if I'm not mistaken. All of that is like the outer casing of your brain and the muscles of your head and stuff. So,
yeah.
And that's why, a lot of people who have migraines have what they call cluster headaches, which is the muscles of the face. And it will often be one side of the face, one side of the head. Sometimes my migraines were like from the front all the way to the back. It was like generally a tension headache is in the back of your head. So it's your neck, your shoulders, the back of your head. Those muscles get tense when you're having stress. And your temples and your sinuses is like, your temples, your forehead, your sinus area, that's a sinus headache. So that's caused by inflammation in your sinuses. But a migraine it can be like from the front of your head all the way and incorporate all of those areas, or it can be one side of your head all the way around the side of your head. So, and then those are called cluster headaches because like your face hurts.
Yeah, I get those a lot on the left side of my head. That's why I can't really, because I'm allergic to nickel, and so I can't really keep piercings on the left side of my head or ear or face because of that allergic reaction, and it makes my headaches worse.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. So you were talking about healing it holistically. I wanted to go back to this is the crazy thing. Like I said, when I was younger, and I apologize for my scratchy voice. I do not know why my voice is so scratchy today, but the weather probably.
Mine is too.
So the medication that was prescribed when I was in my 20s was called Esgig. ESGIC, and it's butalbital, I think is how you pronounce that, acetaminophen, and caffeine. That's all they gave people for a migraine. And really, this is none of these things except the caffeine actually help the migraine. The acetaminophen is an analgesic. So it kind of helps with the pain, but it does
help
not
me at all.
It does not help with the inflammation at all. So because it's not an anti-inflammatory, so it did not help.
Yeah.
The caffeine actually helps shrink those blood vessels, so that does give a little bit of relief. And the butalbital, which I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and somebody can correct me if that's wrong. It's actually a sedative. So really what this drug did was it put you to sleep. And so it was supposed to decrease the anxiety and give you relaxation because they thought that was what was.
But it also gave you caffeine. That seems counterintuitive.
I know, right?
It's
So,
like Excedrin, right?
Like
it has
taking
caffeine in
sinus
it.
medicine and then trying
but
to
I
take a
think
nap.
the theory at that point in time was that the headaches were just like other tension headaches, but more severe. And so, it's really only been in the last probably 20 years maybe that they've realized that migraines are caused by different
Triggers, different factors.
different factors. And so they've started treating them differently. And so they have more different kinds of medications, like the
or combinations of medications.
Yes.
Like everybody I know that has chronic migraines, they take a combination of medications, which is something that I used to do until I had weight loss surgery, and actually losing 200 pounds helped alleviate my headaches a lot, surprisingly.
Right. Well, yeah, because it changes the stress on your spine and on your body and stuff like that too. But yeah, one of the things that it's not necessarily holistic, but aspirin is actually more helpful than the acetaminophen if you can tolerate it. But a lot of people can't tolerate it because of the stomach.
Yeah.
The caffeine, a higher dose of caffeine, and I'm not just talking drink a cup of coffee. They're talking about chemical caffeine, so in a pill or whatever form. So you're getting a higher dose of the caffeine. Now that is going to make it less likely that you're going to fall asleep and get relaxed, but be careful with be careful with mixing the sedative and the caffeine, because and with the other analgesics
by no
and
means
things. Yes.
Pharmacists.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
Yes.
Don't
do
take
that.
anything that we say into.
But there are some over-the-counter medications there that are already in those combined forms that
do
they're
help.
not perfect, but they are helpful. And you can drink the coffee and lying down in a dark room,
cold compress over your eyes,
quiet, being comfortable, being relaxed. Those things all help. And
eliminating stress from your life.
yes, well, the thing about stress is there will always be stress. So
Yeah.
it's not about eliminating the stress. It's learning
Reducing it or
How
learning to be more
to
mindful.
react
with
to
it
it.
and react
When you
to it,
learn
yeah.
to react to it better, then it will not have as much of a
impact.
impact.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Kristen. My words. I'm listening to my voice and it's like so scratchy. I feel weird. So I'm
That's
like,
okay. I actually have kind of like a sinus thing, so I'm probably
See, I do too. So I probably sound, yeah, like I said, it's the weather. The weather rapidly changing. Like this is the worst time of year for
Right.
me.
Well, it's like they come and mow the grass. Like my guy mows the grass, and then my neighbors get their grass mowed like the next day, and then the next day
all
someone
of
else.
that
So it's
stuff
all
in the air,
all day grass
summery
everywhere.
bloom.
Yep, and then it rains and the wind blows more this
and
time
dogs
of year.
and cats and
So that's what I deal with
all
this
that
time
stuff,
of year. Is
yeah.
the sinus pressure. I wanted to tell you guys, you're kind of talking about like where migraines can possibly come from. We talked about hormones, but did you also know that vitamin deficiencies also can contribute to migraines?
Yes.
And
Well,
one
and
of
vitamin
the biggest ones is vitamin D.
Yes,
And all three of us actually
are very deficient.
Very
yes.
deficient. So it's actually
Like I have to take vitamin D supplements. I'm so deficient.
as do I. My doctor,
prescription. Yeah.
I have,
Yeah,
well, my
prescription
doctor,
ones, yeah.
my doctor did some genetic testing on me when I first developed breast cancer, because she said she always checks it when she gets a new patient, because 100% of her breast cancer patients have a lack of vitamin D. And there is one of the genetic testing that she does, there is actually a gene that controls your body's ability to create vitamin D from the sun.
Interesting.
And so those people who have this genetic defect, or this, I say defect, it's a particular gene. And people who have this particular gene, even though they go outside and spend a lot of time outdoors, they're not able to produce vitamin D from the sunshine. So we have to do the supplements. And Kristen's absolutely right that, and this is where this kind of tie to the hormones comes in also. The vitamin D affects your hormones, and if your hormones are off, then you have a risk of having migraines.
Yep.
So all of the things in your body work together. And that whole term holistic, HOLISTIC, to me, I think it should be spelled WHOL.
Whole, yeah.
Whole, like whole, where you look at the whole body, because the whole body affects everything in your body, affects
It
all
all
the other
works
things.
together.
It all works together, and you can't isolate one particular cause or one particular cure. You have to look at how all those things interact together, and that's the most important thing about that is that if one thing doesn't work for you, look at the other things that are affected by it. Maybe something else like your vitamin D level or your vitamin Bs. There's a lot of other things that your body needs. If you're taking vitamin D, you need to make sure that there is adequate vitamin K, which is difficult for your body to get. But it and the vitamin D are required for your body to absorb calcium. So they all interact with each other in different ways. And, sometimes having too much calcium can cause all these other problems, or not having enough calcium can cause all these problems. So that's a big part of it, is do your research and know what your vitamin levels are and make sure you're getting those. And of course, the best place to get those is from food, but we don't always do that. We don't always eat the way we're supposed to. So
not with this fast lifestyle that everybody's living. You don't get all of the nutrients or things that you need. And I'm definitely guilty of that, not having any time to cook or anything like that. I mean, I try to make time, but I definitely am guilty of that.
Me too. I mean, my doctor put me on this diet for my diabetes, and one of the things on it is 5 to 7 servings of vegetables. And I'm not talking corn, potatoes, and carrots. I'm talking
Leafy greens.
And green beans and Brussels sprout.
You know, that's interesting because if you look at humans today versus humans just 1,000 years ago, we spend most, if not all of our time inside. And you can even say that post-COVID lockdown that people spend even more time. Like, I don't even go outside to walk to my car some days anymore because I just stay at home. And so there I'm also not getting the sun. We also eat a lot of packaged foods where you're not getting all those leafy greens and all natural foods. So we're really lacking on both of those parts. So it wouldn't surprise me if migraines are more prominent now than they were 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that my doctor has always told me, because to manage holistically, would be to eat your required amount of vegetables and required amount of meat, you know, higher protein, less carbohydrates, the food pyramid pretty much.
Well, it's even more severe than that. If you want to look back at historically speaking, you know, at some point we started making bread and all those complex carbs, which are basically just sugar. They change everything. So I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. Just ignore me. No. But you know, it's just we eat so many complex carbs and processed foods, and hardly anything that we eat is fresh, and hardly any of it is raw or lightly cooked for food safety, you know. So you know, we tend to char things. We tend to put sugar on things. We tend to use flours and other things, you know, to bulk things out, you know, like noodles and potatoes and
corn. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those things are not good for us. Our body can't digest some of those
there are
things.
certain things that my body can't digest that I have to avoid, like corn.
Yes. Well, nobody's body really digests corn. You know,
we can just leave that at that. No.
Yeah. Our body sucks the sugar out of it because it has been bred to be super sweet,
and then it leaves the insoluble fiber.
And everything else is insoluble fiber. And so, yeah, corn is just sugar. It's pure sugar, and there's nothing nutritional about it.
But it tastes so good.
Oh, it does. I know. Corn chips. Well, that's the
corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Okay, we totally got off topic.
Yeah, I've been wanting to bring this back around to like the holistic part of it.
Well, I was going there, but you know.
One thing that my doctor did tell me, because when I first started seeing a doctor in my late 20s, like really going to see a doctor about my migraines in the late 20s, and he asked me which route I wanted to go. And of course I went the cheaper route because I was in my 20s and in college and couldn't afford to go a more expensive route. He said we could do pill therapy, which I've been trying to get away from because I don't like taking pills. Or we could do like, say, acupuncture. And that is definitely something that I've been wanting to try, and I'm wanting to get to that point financially in life where I don't rely on the pills and just do the acupuncture, because it has proven to really help migraines and manage migraines.
It helps with a lot of things. Anybody who discounts acupuncture, there's a lot of different scientific things that have gone into that, and I had some variations of that for my feet. So I think it's a fascinating way to treat things, and I wish there were more doctors who were willing to look at those options. And that comes up to that whole thing of MDs versus DOs a lot of times, because The MDs, or the guys who go to the traditional medical school as we know it, and they have one train of thought, and so everything
Pills,
it's medicine and surgery
big pharma.
is their main go-to for curing things. And the other train of thought is a different kind of med school, and that is the doctor of osteopathy. And I think we've talked about maybe doing an episode about the differences, but I'm just going to go short ways here. The doctors of osteopathy are more often looking for a more holistic way to treat things, because it looks at the whole body, and it finds things in nature and in your diet and in your activity levels and things like that to help cure those things, or to alleviate that
I like
pain.
the way you bring that up too, because I think sometimes people hear the word holistic and they might think that you mean with essential oils.
Oh, well,
no.
Now, okay,
there's
and that is
not even. I mean,
essential oils is
you can use that to help.
That is a facet of holistic. But
first mental train of thought is
yes,
that you mean alternative medicine.
We're not talking alternative medicine.
No,
we're talking whole body.
Yeah,
and natural ways,
Yeah, more natural ways than just taking a million pills.
Right. And so then you get into acupuncture, acupressure, massage, reflexology.
Yeah,
a lot of people consider chiropractic chiropractic practices in that category as well, because
insurance will cover chiropractic.
Oh, yes. And insurance will cover a lot of it. Sometimes insurance covers massage and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I was talking about, this isn't related to migraines, but I had a form of therapy when I was having problems with one of my feet, and they call it dry needling. And this was performed by a physical therapist, and it is an electrical stimulation therapy using needles like in acupuncture. And so they put the needles into the foot so that the needle scrapes against the bone, and then they put electrical leads on those needles and send current through that needle into the area so that current goes directly to the bone, and it stimulates that area, and it does a couple of different things, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I had terrible plantar fasciitis. I could barely walk half the time. My heel was bruised, and it was starting to destroy the bone around, where my Achilles tendon attached, because it was so, and where my plantar fascia also attached. So because they both attach right there at the heel.
Yeah.
One goes up your leg and the other one goes across the bottom of your foot. And they treated my whole ankle and foot and heel area with this electrical stimulation that they called dry needling, and my foot is healed. So doing similar things like that, they can heal a lot of different problems. So I really feel like it could do a lot of good for the migraines and stuff, because, and like I say, don't discount those things, because that's some fabulous medicine technology right there. And that was my regular doctor, my orthopedist sent me there to have some of that done. So even though it's kind of on that edge of holistic medicine. So
have you ever tried to get your migraines treated with chiropractic treatment, Amber?
Well, I have, I do go to a chiropractor because I have really bad posture, and I do posture correcting with the chiropractor, but no, I've never gone to a chiropractor about my migraines. Now, I have occasionally gone to get a head massage, but that would be something interesting to try, chiropractor for migraines.
You should totally next time you get a migraine, if you're able to make it to the chiropractor. A lot of times they'll see you like just walk-ins, or I'll call because I get emergency chiropractic issues.
Oh yeah.
So because I get the really bad crick in my neck.
Yeah.
So you should try that sometime and see if that helps ease your migraine pain.
Because your head could literally be off your spine. I had a friend who had that issue, and sorry for you people who are listening and aren't here with us, but if I put my fingers, my two forefingers together, one on top of the other, pointing at each other, hers was like off. She, it's like stacking a block.
Wasn't on the top.
Her
joint.
skull was not sitting on top of her spine, and she was getting all these headaches, and they figured that out. And after a series of adjustments and some massage in her neck, and carefully just adjusting, her body finally got used to having her head in the right place. And although that sounds really weird, you're knocked your block off or whatever,
right.
It's kind of crazy sounding, but it was real. So,
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. They just built a place near where I live that I've been wanting to check out.
yeah, I will say the aromatherapy thing can help too, because
I was looking at different essential oils that you can use. I saw peppermint was one of them.
yes,
Yes.
I would probably stay away from the florals because those tend to have allergic properties, and that might aggravate your headaches. But
the tea tree oil and peppermint. See, I wear essential oil. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I have a friend that makes essential oil jewelry.
oh, okay.
And I wear essential oil jewelry, like an essential oil necklace and an essential oil bracelet every day, to help with things like
right.
that.
Well, and one of the things that I actually gave to all the girlfriends at our Galentine's brunch was a little key fob, purse fob thing that has a, I can't remember what you call the stone. It's like lava, but they use another word for it. But it absorbs essential oils, and you can put a drop or two of essential oils on that. And
Is it not a charcoal?
I don't think it's a charcoal. I think it's lava. I don't know. Maybe it is a charcoal.
I was thinking it was like a little charcoal.
The essential oil, they use lava beads. I mean, but I think you could probably use charcoal oil as well, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's lava.
Mm.
Yeah, but they use another word for it, and I can't remember what that word is.
I always just thought they were like little pieces of charcoal that were shaped like a little ball. But if you were interested in like herb remedies, I saw that chamomile is supposed to be really good for migraines too.
They also make certain teas that you could get at a holistic grocery store for migraines.
Oh, wow. Okay. They're probably like the chamomile and the
lavender
peppermint.
tea.
Lavender,
And peppermint.
Yep, lavender, peppermint, and chamomile were the few that I was seeing, like when I was just kind of like looking at different remedies, because since it's not really something that I have to live with, I don't really know. Like, the only thing I would know to tell you is to go in a quiet, dark room and have some coffee. That would be my best remedy. But I was like, man, I have a bunch of herbs at home. I wonder, like, what, what would be helpful.
Well,
for
my
like
crazy go-to until, like, say, if I have to take medication, until medication kicks in, my crazy go-to is pressure points, massaging the pressure points.
Oh, yeah.
There's a pressure point between your forefinger and your thumb that if you massage it correctly will alleviate headaches.
Yeah.
That's actually the one that you massage whenever you need to alleviate stress.
I think there's something about your toothache too, right there, right?
I don't
Am
know.
I'm not really
not
sure about that one, but it could be.
I should know.
Right? You work
for
for a
the
dental
dental?
company, so you should know. And then
they don't want to advertise that. They want people to come in and get their tooth pulled.
No, we never want to pull
No,
a
I
tooth.
know.
That's the
they
last
want to save
resort.
your tooth.
That's
I'm
right.
just teasing.
So, another thing that people like to get would be I forgot what the piercing is called, but they're like the trachea. Is it the trachea?
The one that's right, not on your earlobe, but on
like the inside,
little piece of cartilage on the inside.
Yeah, I think it's called like a trachea, or I'm
be
saying it wrong probably. But my cousin has it, and it does help alleviate migraines. People ask me why I don't ever get that. Is because mine is so small, I don't think that an actual earring would fit there.
Tragus.
Okay, I was saying it wrong.
Tragus.
Yeah, I was. I was close.
It's on. It's on that little piece of cartilage that kind of just sticks out like a little bump in the middle of your. From your face, yeah.
Yeah, you're next to your cheek.
It's not one of the ridges. It's like your face, your cheek that kind of
your cheek
bumps
turns
out right
into
there.
the ear hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cliff before you go down inside the
Yes.
ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine is too small. I feel like nothing would really ever fit there, so I never even tried to get that done. But it's an interesting.
You should ask
thought.
a professional piercer. They could probably tell you.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
On my blog a while back when we were talking about weight loss, there's actually like an ear staple that you can get that's supposed to help with weight loss.
Had that done. I don't know that it was particularly helpful to her, but I think a lot of that would depend on.
It's more like sheer willpower.
Well,
really.
You know what? To me, I think it as with all weight loss remedies, that kind of thing is very dependent on the reasons why you are overweight, because there are a lot of
many
different
reasons why people might be overweight,
right? And different things work for different causes. So. I recently had an overweight issue because of one of my medications. It had nothing to do with eating differently or anything like that, because it was just the fact that the new medication that I was on causes you to retain water. And I had all this swelling, and it caused me to gain a lot of weight. So, the stapling wasn't going to help with that.
Right.
So, like I said, I don't know that it does or does not work. I think it depends on what that stapling is supposed to affect. If it makes you have less of an appetite, well, if you have a problem of overeating, then that would help. But if your problem is not because you overeat, but because you choose the wrong kinds of food, then that's not going to help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's totally off topic.
Yeah, so I was about to say we are
we're going all over the place today,
like
aren't we?
Off topic now. like
y'all didn't know that we go off topic, right?
Yeah. So like some other natural things that you can do as far as like body health, drinking plenty of water will definitely help get rid of headaches. And then, of course, we talked about vitamins. You might even be magnesium deficient, which gives you headaches. And definitely, this goes without saying, limit drinking.
Yes.
And get your 8 hours of sleep, or get the sleep that you need. Don't just get like 2 hours of sleep. Get the sleep that you need.
So that makes me wonder, like, when is it a migraine versus just a really bad headache? Because a lot of those things cause headaches.
Well, and I think that's the varying degrees of pain and what part of your head it affects.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the head, and the extreme pain is what. But even, like I said, my doctor told me that after he did the needle test on me, that even a slight headache that I have is a migraine. So that is true. Like, when is it a migraine and when is it a headache?
So that's where I'm wondering, like, so you don't ever get headaches then?
I mean, well, migraines are a form of headache. So, yes, they're
Yes.
headaches, but just on a more extreme level.
But if you
makes
have a
sense.
sinus headache, that is not a migraine.
Yeah, well,
If
I mean,
it's
I
caused
get
by your-
sinus headaches,
Right.
yes.
But
But
that-
like the migraines, like you were talking about, cluster like they're in certain parts of your head. Like I
Right.
get them mostly in the left side of my head, and
Right.
that's definitely even.
But
a
it goes
slight
all the way
pain is
around to the back, whereas a sinus headache can still be only on your left side of your head, but it's going to involve mainly your face and
When
around
it
your eye.
Usually
Yeah.
makes an X
Yes.
on this area.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where the infection, if you have an infection, then it could be only on one side of your face.
Right, right.
But it's not going to involve
The back of
the
your
back
head.
of your head. So if it
Right.
doesn't involve the back of your head, then it probably isn't a migraine in that case. It's probably
So-
just a sinus headache.
According to like Mayo Clinic, a migraine is an extremely painful primary headache.
Yes.
So like you were talking about in like one part of your head, like how can you tell the difference?
Mhm.
A migraine is like a primary headache, and there are different triggers that cause it. Like versus science headaches or tension headaches. Tension headaches are in the back of the head, and then sinus headaches are in the front of the head. Migraine tends to be like
A
from the
wraparound,
front-
a more wraparound.
front
It
to
involves
the back.
more parts of the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is extremely painful. That is the difference there. It is.
Yeah.
It's not just I can take
Right.
a little nap and it'll go away, or I'll take an aspirin and it will go away. A migraine is extremely painful. And I think people who don't have migraines don't realize just how
painful.
debilitating they are, because your skin hurts, and
yeah.
just the slightest, even in a dark room, the slightest bit of light is like a stabbing pain to your eyeballs, and the sound of your leg moving on the sheet is excruciatingly painful. It causes pain.
Like
So-
I've ended up in the hospital a few times in my life from migraines, like extreme migraines that have gone on for more than a few days. Like I've gotten migraines that have gone on for over a week. And then I've gotten migraines to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. That it was so bad. Like it hurt so much. Anything I did hurt. Anything that I touched hurt. Or if anything touched my head, it hurt. That's one reason why I don't wear hats. Because if I wear a hat, it makes my head hurt. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that about does it for our discussion today. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook group and our blog, and we will discuss more about migraines and tips. Okay, so I want to thank Red Door Studios and Creative Audio Tech for our equipment and our music. And then we also have an episode coming up next week, Motivation Tips. Kristen, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, we're just going to be talking about different ways that we motivate ourselves. Where does motivation come from? How do you develop it? What if you feel like you don't have any at all? We're just going to talk about all that different kind of stuff. It's part of our Goals Girl segment, and
Woo!
I'm really excited about that.
Yay.
Yeah. So, guys, stay healthy. We love you. We love our listeners, not listeners. We love our listeners. And
Yes, we do.
go and give us a like and a review because
We need more. We need
we
more
need
listeners.
more listeners. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell your friends about us. I know we have some listeners out there that are faithful to us. So tell your friends about us. We would love to hear your feedback.
Actually, a special request in regards to giving feedback. If you listen to this podcast and you found someone else that might be interested in it, take it to Facebook and share it.
Yeah.
That way it will reach out to other listeners.
And speaking of Facebook, head on over to our MMC chat group. It's part of the Modern Musings Facebook page. You can link to it right there on Modern Musings on Facebook. And that's where we kind of continue the conversation, and we keep trying to get you guys to come over and talk to us. We want you to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, so if you're just listening, you're only part of the conversation. I mean, you're only a portion of the conversation because we have a blog and we have a Facebook group. So check us out there, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.